Hello and welcome to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League table is back to 7 points, but their style and tactics remain firmly in the spotlight. A 1-0 win thanks to a Bukayo Saka goal from open play, but Brighton manager Fabien Hurzeler says that his team were the only ones trying to play football and that he wouldn't want to win in the way that Arsenal do. Does glory and title-winning triumph have to be beautiful? Will Hurzeler's comments make more people team Arteta? On today's show, we'll debate all of that, plus Manchester City's draw with Nottingham Forest, Chelsea turn it on against struggling Aston Villa, West Ham's big win at Fulham, and impressive performances from Newcastle, Sunderland and Wolves. I'm Tom Clark, and joining me today we have the chief correspondent for the Times and Sunday Times, Martin Samuel, the former Chelsea, Millwall and Ireland striker, Tony Cascarino, and the former footballer turned journalist, Gregor Robertson, is alongside me as usual. We've done it so many times this season already, talked about style and Arsenal. We have to talk about it again, listeners. It is dominating the headlines this week, and none more so than this morning on Thursday as we record this show after last night's game. Arsenal winning 1-0, as I said in that intro there, lead at the top of the table, back to 7 points after Manchester City's draw. But Fabien Hurzeler making style the big issue again. He said after this game, as Alison Rudd reports on the Times website, I think there was only one team who tried to play football today. I asked one question, did you see in a Premier League game a goalkeeper going down 3 times? No, I will never be that kind of manager who tries to win in that way. I want to do well. I want my players to keep improving, to keep playing football on the pitch. And in the end, of course, every team will manage and waste time. But I think there has to be a limit. And the limit has to be set by the Premier League. The limit has to be set by the referees. And at the moment, they just do what they want. When asked about this, Michael Arteta smiled and said, what a surprise. And adding that he loved his players and he loves the way we compete. We're going to get into style again, everyone. Martin, let's start with you. What did you make of this game and these comments first of all, before we broaden it out into the kind of bigger picture stuff? What do you make of Fabien Hurzeler's comments about Arsenal?
Well, I think it's very interesting because usually those sort of comments are what you hear from a manager of an elite team, a team that's at the top of the league, talking about a lower opponent, a lesser opponent. It's the sort of thing that Arsene Wenger would say about when they used to play Stoke or when they used to play Bolton.
Wigan, Paul Jules Wigan.
Yeah. There was only one team trying to play football. And I think that's why there is this resentment towards Arsenal, because a lot of people will recognise that. Well, a lot of people will recognise what Hurzeler is saying. There's only one team trying to play football. But we expect that to be the big team, the elite team, the league leading team. We expect them to be the ones that are trying to play the football. We don't expect a team that's in the bottom half of the table or whatever to suddenly be on the high moral ground about style. And so to hear Hurzeler's comments, I think that is why there is this degree of animosity towards Arsenal, because it is not what we have come to expect from teams that win the league in the Premier League era.
In terms of then this idea of only trying to play football, I mean, that even to break down that statement in itself, Arsenal are playing football. Set pieces are football, throw-ins are football, scoring goals from corners are football. As I said in my intro, Bukayo Saka had a shot that was deflected. Verbruggen should probably save it, and then we wouldn't have this problem, let's be honest. But I mean, is the problem then our perception? You took there, Martin, in that answer that sums it up nicely. Is it about us? Are we as much part of the problem that what we expect from the very top, from the very best? Is that part of it, Martin?
They're going after a succession of the best footballing teams that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Particularly Manchester City, but in a different way, Klopp's Liverpool.
Very exciting,
in a different way, Slott's Liverpool as well, because Salah last season. And so they are following this run that English football has had, where the champions for however many seasons now, 6, 7, maybe going all the way back to, say, Leicester, who were a little bit more harem-scarum,
but they were the underdog.
But they were the underdogs, so they had this incredible backstory. They had the most romantic backstory probably in the history of English football. So it didn't really matter that they won 5 out of 6 games, 1-0 at one stage in that season. Whereas they're following on from Pep Guardiola's Manchester City.
I think that's a really good point. Tony, we're talking big picture already, but on the game last night and Hurzeler's comments, striking a nerve with Arsenal fans. What did you make of it all?
Well, he's striking a nerve on really Arsenal as the club as well. It's not just their fans, because this idea of how you play football, and there is an elitism, isn't there, with the top sides. I mean, Martin was talking about, there are certain clubs in European football who can't play that way because their fans wouldn't accept it. As an international team, Brazil, you cannot play that. They won the World Cup in '94, got stick. Winning the World Cup, got stick in, not allowed to play that way. Okay? And so watching it yesterday, and I came away and I kept thinking, could Liverpool be allowed to play that well? Well, they did sort of under Roy Hodgson a bit. Manchester United had Mourinho, but they weren't,
they weren't winning the league.
No, and they weren't winning the league. But we've seen teams do this. Leeds United did this, but you're not meant to be. If you have these huge budgets, pay huge amounts of money by the biggest stars in football, you're expected to. It's like going to see a film, isn't it? It's got the greatest actors in the world, and they go, it was okay. They're all great, but the film's okay. That's what you're getting watching Arsenal.
Coming back to the perception and this idea of the modern football and the modern game, is there not a sense that actually the game permits this? The game permits you to put lots of players in the 6-yard area and stick a really good corner in. Is Declan Rice whipping the most perfectly positioned in-swinging corner into the box? Not this equivalent of a brilliantly skillful winger dancing round through players and bending it into the top corner, like Mo Salah did for Liverpool in their title-winning season, Martin, as you say. Is this not just the equivalent, and we can't get our heads around it? Gregor, what do you think? What do you make of it all?
Yeah, it's maximising a strength. It's like a form of marginal gain that Arsenal have been at the vanguard of. I think we can get a wee bit ahead of ourselves. I think the season has had sort of phases. I think Arsenal started quite kind of, they weren't easy on the eye, but it was effective. Then they had a period where they were kind of free scoring, and you thought they were starting to loosen up, and you were seeing more creativity and then. Now they've found another stage. They have different faces. We'll see it again when European football starts again, in Champions League next week. We'll see it again. Yeah. We'll see Arsenal in a different face. And I think part of me admires it. I think I totally take the point that this is not what we expect from potentially a champion, and it is a bit jarring at times, but. There's no right way and wrong way to play football, and I always think it's wrong for a manager or a player or anyone to criticise the other team's approach like this. It reminded me of Rodri after Scotland beat Spain 3 years ago, about this time of year. It was the saltiest post-match interview I can ever remember. The best team in the world playing against the team ranked 40th or whatever. And he expected them, he just kept going about only one team wanted to play. What do you expect? And I totally understand that the roles are reversed here.
That's the point. That if Scotland had come out and gone, well, we're trying to play football here, and they've got the best footballers in the world, and they're not trying to play us.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound any better from Hurzeler to me. I don't think it doesn't sound.
And look, we're all saying the same thing. There's no given right. You have to play this way, and I look at Arsenal and they've got to get over the line. They have to get over the line.
Yeah. And just to be clear, they also, I don't think they are playing like the team in relative terms in international football ranked 40th in the world. No. They're not. They can take a lead and they can hold on to it better than anyone else because they have absolute warriors in defence, and they can hold on to leads better than anyone.
Yeah. So that team they really remind me of more than is Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
And they really remind me of
who we admired a lot. They're not quite Real Madrid, Barcelona. So maybe
because they're up against Real Madrid and Barcelona, exactly.
Yeah. I'm talking this Arsenal now. What I'm seeing in recent weeks, Greg. I'm not talking from you said, the start of the season. And you're right to mention that we have seen glorious performances,
and they might well turn it on again.
But they got to get over that line.
What people, I think you can break it down to why are Arsenal unpopular. Generally unpopular. So the Hurzeler thing, so there's that people expect more of the best team in the country. Yeah. They expect them to have more ambition. Okay, we'll go with that. The other thing I think that is ticking people off is that, and Gregor and I were talking about this earlier, that there's always a correction in football. So the set piece thing is all right, but people work out how to organise themselves against the set pieces, and it will be a phase, and it will go. It's
Chelsea
come and
leaving
go.
3 players on the top.
It will come and go. But one of the ways you can address the set piece issue is if the referees referee it properly and stop people holding on to each other and grabbing and wrestling and all of this. And people don't think that is happening. People think the referees have basically abdicated their responsibility for policing the 6-yard box, and they resent that as well. And they blame Arsenal for it,
they're using
as opposed to blaming the referees.
They're using that.
I also think on the same sort of theme, there's possibly a bit of a feeling that Arsenal have been at the vanguard of this sort of pivot in tactical trends, and like possibly there's a bit of a. That's another reason why they're not quite as.
Or maybe they're just best at it. To my point about Declan Rice in corners, they're just the best at it.
Yeah, but they've been best at it for 2 or 3 seasons now, and then everyone tries to replicate the best. I don't know they've not won the league, but they've fallen short by fractional.
So, and Arteta said this, didn't he, in his pre-match press conference when asked about this, because Fabien Hurzeler had a bit of a pop beforehand, talking about time wasting and things. He kind of said, look, I'd happily play a bit more expansive. I've got the players to do it, but this is English football overall. It's not just us. Everyone is doing it. We're just best at it.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of cloning that's gone on here in football in the last sort of 9 months. We've seen,
as there always is.
Yeah, as there is. There is in music, Martin. Everyone
yeah.
cloned everybody. Can I just add one more? And they're also, one of the thing I think upsets a number of supporters is that they're right on the margin of the line of how long they take throws. They know they've been questioned about it, but they take it right to the limit. They do it again, and people think. And you can hear the fans getting frustrated.
But that comes back to Martin's point about clamping down on it, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's a couple of things I just wanted to bring in there. So Arsenal took 30 minutes and 51 seconds to restart play against Brighton last night, which is their highest total in a Premier League match this season. And I just wanted to mention very quickly before we come back to Arsenal, just a couple of other things that are kind of surfacing in terms of this whole bigger kind of conversation that Gregor's making the point, Arsenal at the vanguard, and everyone's kind of pushing this a bit of a narrative that, football's broken and things like that. It's just in a chapter, in my opinion. But so a couple of things that are coming up. Obviously, Hertz was talking about keepers feigning injury. Raya going down 3 times, as he said. I mean, if you go to any Football League match, that happens basically like clockwork on 20 minutes and 65 minutes in each half. And, my dad still falls for it, bless him. He goes, the keeper's injured. I'm like, he's not, Dad, promise. Honestly, he's not. Trust me. Just a water break and a tactics chat. But, I mean, just very quickly, anyone got a major problem with that? I mean, I don't. But, everyone's folding all these things in.
All I would say is, the reason people have got a problem with it, the other thing that has happened, this is now the third thing, is everyone has had to listen to Arsenal lecturing on everyone on how football should be played for a long, long time. And particularly when Arsene was in charge, Arsene had very, very direct, specific ideas. And we had to listen to a lot of Arsenal fans telling everyone that, that there's only one way of playing and this has got to be the right way and, this beautiful game, etc., etc. And so there's a bit of that in there as well. That right. So, and then you've got other little things like who's the Arsenal player that has gone down injured more than anyone else this season? I think I saw statistics the other. Is it Gabriel Martinelli?
Right, it might be.
Was the guy that tried to drag Conor Bradley off the pitch when he was genuinely injured?
Right.
So there's all of these little things that don't make them particularly appealing to the neutrals. Yeah. I get it from an Arsenal point of view, and I get it if you're an Arsenal fan, you can go, I don't care, we just need to win the league. But you can't make everyone love you.
Yeah. No. Just come back to that in just a second. Gregor, I wanted to come back to the idea about the game generally being broken and stuff, because the other thing we've seen is people criticising kickoffs this week. We saw it on Tuesday night. I think it was Brentford and Everton both tried the kind of rugby-style flick it up in the air and then boot it. We've seen that loads. And I mean, to me, that's no different than a quick pass to the left-back who launches a diagonal that maybe goes out for a throw-in or doesn't. We need to be careful here, don't we, that we don't conflate a load of different things into either right and wrong, left and right, bad, good. A lot of this is just little stylistic things that will come and ebb and flow with the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been this sort of narrative that the game's broken in the last week or so, and I think that's nonsense. Like it is a chapter. It's a good way of describing it. And we're seeing trends, and sometimes one trend will sort of make another trend more acceptable, if you like. Like the kickoffs is one example. I've said this before. PSG are the best team in Europe, and they put the ball straight out from kick. Some last season in particular, they did it in the Champions League final. They took centre and put it straight out. You go, it's okay for them to do. Then we'll do it. So that's like, that's part of it. It feeds into it, and it's the same thing with Arsenal. As I said, they are a team that people look up to because they've been successful up to a point. I'll make that point clear. And you see what has got them there, and people try and emulate it. So there are these trends and influences, absolutely. But the idea that the game is broken is nonsense. And there are things, yes, referees can do. They can just use their powers. They already have the powers. There's no need for new laws. I don't think there's need for countdown clocks. I don't think there's need for all these things that the IFAB are trying to concoct now. Just give the referees.
They can't handle the rules they've got. Why do you want to give them another 5 responsibilities?
Just give the referees the power to use their powers more.
Yeah. And the freedom to make calls.
And like we said this beforehand, things about set plays as well. There's hysteria about the kind of the tugging and stuff. So the referees can use their powers. Yeah. But then you'll also see, like Chelsea did when they left 3 men up. I think it was in the cup game. 3 men on the halfway line. And we were discussing earlier. There's a game. I think Kidderminster this week put 5 men on the halfway line, like down way down the leagues. Like
could be great fun.
People come up with ideas. There was Pep Guardiola. I was reading a piece this week, like because of man-to-man pressing. That's another thing. Arteta's referenced that. Like people are so good defensively now, and they're so disciplined, and they often utilize man-to-man pressing. Pep put Bernardo Silva and Rodri on either side of the 6-yard box, and started goal kicks with his 2 midfielders there.
Well, that's really common now.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're not the 2 midfielders.
Yeah.
But midfielders. So like he's trying to disrupt the other team's notion of marking man to man. It's very you can't mark them clearly, and it's like pulling people from pillar to post. So people will think up solutions to what we think are problems now. They're not problems. They're just areas that you have to try and confront.
Yeah, we should say as well, style was a big issue in Sunderland's win at Leeds as well, and also Kit Shepherd reporting on the Times website that a law change addressing potential time wasting by goalkeepers feigning injury will be trialled next season in the WSL. I wanted to just finish by coming back to Arsenal, Martin. You've touched on it a couple of times about this perception that we have and that general football fans have. How will this make them viewed as potential title winners?
I think if they win the league, and I think they will, and I thought they would, from quite early on. They're the best squad in the country by a mile, and they're the best at executing their game plan by a mile. I think they will be the most controversial champions of the Premier League era, because this is not seen as a conventional way for champions to play. It would have been far less controversial before the Premier League. If you think of George Graham's Arsenal team, had a really tight offside trap. It was more direct. Before that, Howard Kendall's Everton team was quite a direct team. Kaz mentioned Howard Wilkinson and Leeds. That's the year before the Premier League starts. They were quite a direct team as well. So I think before we get to the Premier League era, it's not uncommon for a team to have a direct style. I'm not saying Arsenal have got a particularly direct style, They haven't. But to have, say, a direct style, or to be very good at set pieces, or very good at corners, free kicks, or whatever. In the Premier League era, without a doubt, title-winning teams have moved away from that.
Listen, I think Martin makes a good point that the general football public will find it particularly
I've never
controversial.
Known a team
they're
champions-elect, right? They're champions-elect.
It's a little unfair.
We think they're champions-elect. We think they're champions-elect. We've seen champions-elect before. We've had plenty of seasons where, at this stage in the season, you're thinking, right, this is the team that's going to win it. This is it. I can't remember a team or club, a champion that's got so much animosity from other fans around them. The incredible thing, Manchester City have got 115 outstanding charges against them, and you'll get people going, I'd much rather Man City win it. And you're thinking, this is incredible,
which
really.
is remarkable.
They've turned Man City into the good guys. And I'm not saying, this is not my opinion, but you do go out and you do speak to football fans and people talk to you about football. They're not well liked. They're really not.
Do we hope, Gregor, potentially that Arsenal can kind of blow a few teams away as they head towards a couple of trophies towards the end of this season, and that this will just be a period where they're kind of grinding out games? Kaz said it himself. Got to get over the line. Does it matter?
No.
Is it unfair?
No, they can do it how they want. And I think Martin is making a very valid point. I don't think they'll be popular champions, and I think if you look down through the list of winners of the Premier League title, there's usually a fondness for them. Even if you're a neutral, you think you enjoyed watching that team's football, or you really admire them, or you see the two best teams in the country going head to head, and you think, "Whoa, that's a thrilling spectacle." I'm just trying to think back to anyone who not even when Chelsea won the title under Antonio Conte, there was the tactical tweak. They changed the three at the back, and he got up. That's good, and they were transformed. They weren't like a joy to watch all the time, but. That was like there was still an admiration for the way they'd done it. There's not, I think, from the neutrals, just to be clear, like Arsenal fans, I totally will not give a damn.
Absolutely.
But for neutrals, there's not that much to feel a fondness about. There's individuals, like everyone loves Declan Rice, everyone loves Saka, like everyone really admires, I think, the defenders and their, as I keep describing, like this warrior spirit that they have. But I don't think there's much fondness felt towards Arteta, and I don't think there is much felt towards them as a team.
See, what you said earlier is true that Conte's Chelsea were a clinical team. Jose's team was a clinical team, but also brilliant. I remember watching early.
Is this Arsenal team not brilliant as well?
I wouldn't go. Look, if you were going to compare the Invincible
they do the
team
quadruple.
They could do.
I admire them, and I never want football to go one way, and that's how you have to play, and I just don't like that idea at all. I think it's just it's impossible. I just feel watching this Arsenal team, I understand why people feel the way they do when you watch them, because as champions of many countries, whether it's Bayern Munich in Germany or whether it's PSG, you're deemed or you're meant to play a certain way, which they don't quite fulfil. But I can't get away from. They are the best team I've seen so far this year.
And you called it from the start, Tony. You said they were going to. I haven't forgotten this. You said they were going to win the league before the season started, which
absolutely. And I think and they will do it deservedly so. Arsenal fans and you. Sorry, Martin. Go on.
I was going to make one other point. Right, so it's like Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if they've got Thierry Henry up front,
it's true.
If they've got Thierry Henry up front, people are looking at it going, "Well, I don't really like this." What a player! Bergkamp. Or what a player, Thierry Henry. I pay to watch it. But even their centre forward. And he's doing all right now. He's doing all right, and he's a handful. And I thought we had a great game against Tottenham the other week.
Yeah, you did, absolutely.
But even Gyökeres, he's not delightful on the eye. He's not, he's not a Thierry Henry or a Bergkamp or even Ian Wright or whatever. He's and it all bleeds into this idea that this is quite a sort of functional setup. That this isn't actually the balancing the ball on your nose.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you're meant to be doing if you're the champion.
But as I said, I also think it's important to say that the wider sort of feeling in the Premier League feeds into this as well, I think. Like this idea that the Premier League is taking a step, almost an aggressive step,
and I think that's
where Arsenal are like the totem of that.
That's where I think it's unfair on Arsenal. That's where
I do too. Up to a point. There's nothing wrong with
they're carrying the can. A lot of the stuff.
Absolutely.
We're going, but they're the top. They should be better.
Exactly.
Arteta's like, shut up. We're just better at it than you are. Like Declan Rice takes a better corner than your bloke, and Gabriel heads a ball better than your bloke, and leave it.
They're the second highest percentage of goals from set pieces. This season, Arsenal, or they were going into this round of matches. So it's Crystal Palace are the most, and then it's Arsenal. Bottom by some distance is Manchester City. Bottom.
Very interesting, though. Let's bring them in then, because the only reason they're talking about 7 points clear. We had a big chat about style. Arsenal fans and neutrals, get in touch with me, tom.clark@thetimes.co.uk. Tell me what you think, whether we're right about the perceptions of Arsenal this season. But speaking of City, they scored a very Arsenal corner last night against Nottingham Forest. Lots of blocking in the box, everything like that. But dropping points against a very well-drilled Nottingham Forest side. I thought they kind of waited for their moments. Morgan Gibbs-White, what a player when he fancies it. Goodness me, he was doing like little back heels around City players, and you're probably City fans thinking, should we sign him as well as Antoine Semenyo? I think. Elliot Anderson with a terrific goal as well. Erling Haaland a little bit missing in this game. Was this the kind of performance, Gregor, I thought of you while I was watching this, where you'd said, this is not the City team that we've expected in the past. This is still a bit disjointed. You know, Antoine Semenyo has been a brilliant signing, and I actually thought Mark Gay played well as well. But I'm actually watching them in recent weeks going, Christ, if you hadn't signed them, you'd be really in trouble.
Yeah, I just don't have the same degree of trust as I've had in City teams in the past. And Forest deserve a lot of credit for the way they defended, and, you know, as you say, two players. I read Paul Hurst's on the Whistle report actually on the website last night, and he was describing it as one player they overlooked in the summer in Gibbs-White, and then a player who they're very, strongly linked with in signing this summer, Elliot Anderson, are the teams that possibly put City's title bid to the sword.
Although probably there's a third player in there, Murillo, with the clearance off the line. I'll tell you what, that was exciting watching that in the office as the editor last night, thinking, what's the narrative going to be? What's the back page of the paper going to be? Arsenal had won, Arsenal had finished. You think City score here, it's the neck and neck still. And it was one of those moments where you're just going, oh my God. Absolutely remarkable clearance. Remarkable moment.
I think City overplayed.
Needed Cascarino just to clear everyone out. Bald man, everything.
I tell you what stood out for me was because it was like when Manchester United went to Arsenal and they won 3-2 and Dorku and Cunha got two great goals. It reminded me of that game where the two goals. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, the back heel. That's
great cushion header as well.
Yeah, great cushion header, and then sets. But to him be able to do that and do it with a sort of confidence, knowing he can, and then Elliot Anderson's finish where he bends it round, and Cunha did that at Arsenal, didn't he? That bended. There were two great goals, and City don't find themselves that often on conceding goals that are that good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You normally have to work your way around City, but I just thought it was a big moment last night. And City are a very good side, but like Gregor, I just think they're going to drop points. Yeah. I just don't feel the same about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a great point for Nottingham Forest. We're going to talk about the battle at the bottom in the second half of the show, but it's time for a quick break. It's time for an FA Cup related quiz question. We're not going to mention too much of the FA Cup in this show. We'll save that for Monday. But it's Port Vale in action this weekend against Sunderland, who helped Port Vale knock Tottenham Hotspur out of the FA Cup in 1988, and 6 years later was part of the Wimbledon side that beat Sunderland in the same competition. Find out after the break. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. I'm Tom Clark, and I've got Gregor Robertson, Tony Cascarino, and Mr. Quizmaster himself, Martin Samuel, who was in with the answer to the quiz question, which was...
Only once it was given as a multiple choice, but it's Robbie Earle.
Robbie Earle is what it is indeed. Yes, that's coming from Bill Edgar's quiz, which you can do every week on the Times website. Some fiendishly difficult questions.
Got 8 out of 10 last week. There was one last week.
See, you love the quiz.
Absent-mindedly. When you're sitting there waiting for something or whatever.
No, you love it.
And I was quite impressed because there's people putting their results in the comments, which I think is quite strange. But no one had 8 out of 10. I got 8 out of 10.
You love the
I should maybe do this for a living.
You love Bill Edgar's weekly quiz.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Almost as much as you love the kit in this room with you.
Yeah,
chair
absolutely.
That moves up and
chair
down.
That moves up and down.
All the time. Anyway,
freezing cold air conditioning.
Keeping you on your toes. Let's get back into the football because there's loads of other great action in the midweek fixtures. We're recording this on Thursday before the big game. Tottenham against Crystal Palace. We'll mention the battle at the bottom in a second. Chelsea Villa. I'm really falling for Liam Rosenior, everyone. I've really got to say. I don't know whether it's all an act, but the guy's got vibes, man. I really like it. Even there was a moment when I think it was Aston Villa's quite controversial goal that was ruled out, offside by a knee, Gregor. I'm sure you enjoyed that one. But as Villa are counter-attacking, because I think Chelsea gave the ball away, there was an image of him on his haunches on the touchline, going, oh no, it's going to get... He couldn't watch, and then the ball goes in the background, then it's disallowed. But I thought Chelsea were excellent in this game. Cole Palmer back obviously helps when you're star striker scores a hat-trick. What do we think of Chelsea generally, not just in this game? Obviously, Rosenior's made lots of headlines for lots of different reasons. Chelsea have been under pressure as a club this season. They're still probably not where they would want to be. But what do we make of this time in charge so far, Martin?
That last night is the high point, isn't it? That's the high point of it. And I know that Villa are on their way down at the moment. And maybe you look at Villa and you wonder whether they might be better trying to get into the Champions League via the Europa League than the Premier League. Who knows? But that's an impressive result. To put 4 past Aston Villa is an impressive result, whatever form they're in. And no, that's good. That's good. He's had there's been the odd match where it really hasn't worked for him or whatever. But that's a good result. If he can get him into the Champions League this season, if he can maintain that Champions League position, because let's be honest, it wasn't like Enzo Maresca, it wasn't like they were 10th or anything like that. If he can maintain that Champions League position, then that's a good start, isn't it? And then he's got a full season to go at it.
Yeah, our old colleague Tom Ruddy, who works for Chelsea, I was at the Chelsea game and he said, say hello to Rosenior, come up to Liam Rosenior, say hello, you know. And he said, you'll be really impressed. And he's a really impressive guy for a young man that's come into a job that's totally unexpected. I'd say one player that's absolutely excelled since he's been there has been Enzo Fernandez. He's been frighteningly good. His ability on the ball. I know he's a £100 million player, but boy, he just does so many good things in a football match. I just look at their heart, their defence, and it's a common theme. If they fix that, Chelsea would be. They got so much, wingers. He can pick and choose. Garnacho comes in last night and plays. He's had Neto, but they've got so much choice in them wide positions. Pedro's just settled in. I think now he looks way more like a striker. When I first saw him at the start of the season, I thought he was playing like a 10 role so often. But now he looks like he wants to be a predator, get into certain areas. And Chelsea are doing it really well. Watching last night, because I flicked between that game and Arsenal. And the times I flicked over and watched Chelsea, I know we're going to go back to the old comment, but it was like watching a different game, the way they play, how fast they move the ball, and they get on it, and they look for the
they all go, don't they?
Oh, they all fly.
We've got Malo Gusto, everyone flying forward.
All playing with purpose. And I know they lost the 3 games against Arsenal, the 2 in the Cup and obviously in the league. But apart from the first one, the other 2 were really good games, where Chelsea played really well. So Chelsea are not far away. Yeah. I just think they haven't got a...
But they shouldn't be far away, should
no,
they?
they shouldn't be.
When you think what they did last season,
players,
they shouldn't be far away, and the money they've spent or whatever.
Yeah, we've said they're not far away for a while. You were watching it last night, you think maybe 2 or 3 players, like as you say, central defender, still maybe a goalkeeper, and like just someone who's a bit of a leader maybe still. And I know they think that they're cultivating this and whatnot. It was actually Garnacho's best game for them as well.
After Rosenior had defended him in the press conference as well and said, backed him a little bit. I thought that was quite interesting management, talking about him as a vibes person, that before the game defends a player, then picks him. It's kind of very basic man management, isn't it? But it worked. It seemed to work.
Yeah, no, he was good. He gave Matty Cash a torrid really in the first half, and he was like always making those runs. Villa's high line was just like crazy, and it's what they do, for good or bad. And this is a bad night.
Disjointing though, Gregor, wasn't it? It got caught a few times.
It did, yeah. But he
was kept a couple of offsides where he's not in line with the defence at all.
Yeah, but Garnacho was always the one trying to make those arcing runs, and yeah.
I was impressed the way he dealt with the red card thing as well.
Early in the week,
Early in the week, what he said, where he basically
talking about discipline,
set down a set of standards, and it seemed as if he was going to address it rather than just sort of keep excusing it.
Which is what you said on Monday's show, isn't it? As a former player, you kind of got to both tackle it, but also give the players the responsibility of saying this is on you. On Villa, then there was a moment that I think kind of summed up their situation. Now, I think it was Morgan Rogers trying to kind of twist and turn and get himself that space 25 yards out where he was banging them in around Christmas. And I think it was Malo Gusto just kind of wrestled him 50-50, eventually nicked the ball. Referee gives a free kick against Rodgers. He boots the ball into the hoardings and gets a yellow card. And you just thought, this is where they're at. They ran a really good race for a while, and that maybe, as you say, Martin, they've got a choice to make now where they're going with this season. I just wanted to ask quickly on Morgan Rogers, and we mentioned Morgan Gibbs-White, Cole Palmer playing in this game consecutively. Are we ending up in a kind of fascinating conversation around England and number 10s and attacking players where you're like, I don't actually know who the best person is at the minute, in terms of the situation as we head into an international break? I'd be giving it Morgan Gibbs-White on the basis of last night's game. But, I mean, is it still Morgan Rogers' shirt?
I'd say so because of his performances for England.
Yeah,
you're right. He's had a bit of a lull recently. Foden has had a lull of a season, really. Bellingham's injured. Yeah, you're right. It's a position of like embarrassment of riches, but you're still not sure which one is going to be the one you hang your hat on. I don't think that's always the case, really, until you get right up to the end of the season. Like, you see who's in form, you see who's fit. That's always going to be the way. But Rodgers probably does need to have a stronger end to the season to be kind of really everyone saying he's the one.
It's a weird one because if you look at the Villa's last 6-7 matches, I think it's only Chelsea who are in the top 6, and they lost to Newcastle in the cup at home. They've had a real indifferent period against teams that you'd think, Villa could get a good few results here. And they haven't. It's gone the other way completely.
Yeah, difficult times for Aston Villa fans. A good win for Newcastle United against Manchester United. Loads of controversial moments in this game. We had Jacob Ramsey sent off for a second yellow card for a dive that probably wasn't about as much of a dive as Mateus Cunha against Crystal Palace. I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks that, but Newcastle hanging on really well. Not a great night for the old Michael Carrick. Give him a contract as long as he wants. I would say, Martin, 10 men, 1-1, bringing on Ugarte and Malacia.
It's one match, isn't it? I mean, everyone loses one match. I seem to remember that last season Liverpool got beat by Nottingham Forest at home in about Arne Slot's third or fourth game or something like that.
Didn't have 10 men though.
No, but it's Nottingham Forest, 1-0 at home. Not a good result. You can lose a game. I think there's
They probably haven't been great since the West Ham game, though.
West Ham, I thought they were very ordinary at West Ham.
Then they were obviously beating Everton, kind of hanging on. That was the night when everyone was really tearing their hair out about the set pieces and the people in the box. Palace, they were poor until the sending off. That changed the game. So they haven't been great for a few weeks, but they've been finding a way to get a result, and they almost, again, pretty fine margins. Hurzeler coming off the bench and scoring an absolute worldie.
A great goal, terrible defending by Tarek Malacia, though. You've got to say, he didn't look like he'd forgotten how to play football. He'd not been on the pitch for a while.
He looked like he had forgot he'd been brought on.
Yeah.
Because he
just
came
running about.
And got totally lost in the moment.
What he was doing. Bruno Fernandes carrying Manchester United again. Tony and Martin, I just wanted to ask you about your potential Player of the Year contenders. We discussed this on Monday's show. Gregor, we had a few listeners get in touch to say they were upset that we hadn't mentioned Bruno Fernandes. He's definitely a candidate up there. Who would you be picking now? Obviously, a long way to go. Recency biases aside, if you were picking a player of the season, Martin? Declan Rice. Tony?
Yeah, I think Semenyo has done pretty amazing.
Semenyo.
The Bournemouth fan. Look, if Arsenal go and win the title, it's different. But there's a few I've been really impressed with. And I said Enzo Fernandez. Look, the fact that Chelsea not challenging for the title was a bit of an issue, but he's been terrific for them. Obviously, Gabriel at Arsenal's had a terrific season.
It'll be between Declan Rice and Gabriel for me.
Yeah. Bruno Fernandes, though, definitely a candidate, I would say, given his performances for its at times struggling Manchester United team. Let's talk about another one of the big results in midweek. West Ham 1, Fulham 0. Martin, the survival's on, isn't it? You've said it so many times on this podcast. West Ham are down, they're done, they're dead and buried. It's looking very interesting at the bottom.
It's looking very interesting.
Very interesting.
Season finished tomorrow, West Ham are still relegated.
Yeah. So, but only just. They're level on points now with Nottingham Forest, both on 28. As I've already teed up, Tottenham against Crystal Palace taking on even greater significance with every game that passes. They've kept another clean sheet, though, and so often on the show this season, they're keeping clean sheets. Good. They're battling. They're keeping it.
Look, one feels confident about the way going into games. You don't feel confident about West Ham winning going into games, but you not. I've been on here and gone. They're gone, and I do think. I mean, Nuno's done a fabulous job.
They look like a Nuno team now.
He's really done a
They look
fabulous
like a
job
Nuno
because
team.
when he took over, I genuinely couldn't see what 11 he could pick to get West Ham out of jail. I didn't think they had 11 players there. And I know they made some signings, but Pablo is injured, and some of the other signings were kids, and all of this, like Magasa. And he's turned it round. He's turned it into an efficient team. Somerville is in exceptional form at the moment. You're even overcoming the fact that Bowen looks exhausted to me. He looks absolutely dead on his feet, poor sod. But they're still finding ways. You know, even shipping 5 against Liverpool. Now, every time Liverpool went forward, you fancied them to score. So that was not a good way. Not a good way to win a game. But they didn't play badly. They didn't actually play badly.
Created a lot of chances,
bizarrely. They created chances. So,
and I mean, this is a significant win, isn't it? Particularly in light of Tottenham, who went to Fulham and lost at the weekend. To go to Fulham, Fulham have been in fantastic
I've
form
got to try
of late.
to not get excited. You sort of feel very invested in it because it was the team you grew up with and everything. So you feel very invested in them not getting relegated. But at the same time, you've got to be realistic. You know, a lot's got to go right at West Ham and a lot's got to go wrong elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, Nottingham Forest just got to draw at Man City. We don't know what Tottenham will do tonight. I mean, they can't play as badly as they did at Fulham, surely.
Well, you never know. You might be.
You
listening.
never know.
You might be
It might
listening to
be-
this on Friday morning, and they've done just that.
But I say, for all it like hair pulling and teeth gnashing about the football this season, like we've got a great relegation battle, we've got a title race. Although it's it's changing from week to week, and a great battle for Europe as well. Like there's just been this narrative about football being broken and like the spectacle, spectacle being. It's like.
But he's right.
No, I don't. I'm disagreeing with him.
It's also
There's
fantastic.
also different things. There's also different things you want from entertainment too. It's like you want
Full of whiskey.
So many things.
got me.
So many things to latch onto, though. So many storylines. So many aspects of this season to latch onto.
Yeah, but there's like if it's not just about the footballing show for the 90 minutes. It's about how even the league is, how
If
some of these tactics are actually leveling things up.
If Tottenham were to go down, for instance, that would be one of the most remarkable stories of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, there's a question. Have you said who's played in the last month the worst of all? Tottenham. They've been the worst team
And do
for
you know,
me watching them.
Do you know, Tony, who's one of the teams playing best of all? Wolves.
Lincoln City.
Wolves. Don't you start about Lincoln City.
Lincoln City.
Don't you start about
They're second. They're not top.
You missed the EFL show. That happened earlier in the week. But Wolves are playing some of the best football.
Yeah. Eighth wonder of the world. Did they stay up?
If you want to talk about things that would be the most exceptional
that
thing,
would just be incredible.
they are obviously a long way off safety. Still 12 points behind West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Just 16 points for the season, but they've won the last 2 games. And looking at their fixtures, these are their fixtures, okay? Brentford away, Monday night in a week's time. West Ham away. Then they've got Leeds, and then they've got Tottenham. They've got Sunderland. Sunderland's season by this point, probably, Brighton the same. Well, they've got Fulham at home and Burnley. Anyone having it?
Eighth wonder of the world if they stay up.
No chance?
No chance.
No chance. What? Even the way they're playing at the minute? They beat Liverpool. They drew with Arsenal.
Yeah.
They looked brilliant in both those
We've
games.
just had a conversation about
So much needs to go wrong.
Yeah,
That's the
every-
thing around them. So much needs.
and
to
the
go
fact
wrong.
that West Ham won last night, Forest picked up a point. I mean, if Tottenham won tonight, it would pretty much. They'd need league winning form to stay up.
It would be absolutely crackers, of course it would. But this season is absolutely crackers. Tottenham might have 3 managers by the end of the season. Nottingham Forest has had 4. This is one of the most truly mental seasons I've ever worked in. It's honestly
Wolves
mental.
could have gone through the entire season with a change strip of a pair of shorts.
Why is that?
If you look at Wolves' colours, they wouldn't have to change against anybody. Anybody apart from Newcastle, you'd have to change your shorts.
Yeah.
And pair of old gold shorts, and possibly Tottenham.
Another reason that we
Possibly
should be...
Tottenham. Because Fulham, for some reason, have given up on the black shorts this season. They're playing in all white because they think they're Leeds. I don't know why. But so they could have actually, if you want to save money, if you think you're going to get relegated, you could have gone through the entire season with your chain strip, just a pair of shorts.
Save on the washing.
all
Do
you
you
need.
know one small thing on the kits thing? I really like it when Manchester United play at Newcastle and wear red, white, white.
Yeah.
Against the Newcastle's black. Anyway, that's just a little personal thing. So who's going down then at the bottom? Well, obviously going into this game against Tottenham tonight, they could change it all. It's an impossible question. But particularly around Forest and West Ham, they're now level on points. It's going to be fascinating. Even if Tottenham win tonight and everyone says, "Oh, they're okay now." Who are you? Who's in the better form? Who's more worried? Who do you think?
There's nothing. There's
really
really very little between Forest. Clearly, they're on the same points, but I mean, in terms of actually the feeling, I think within the camp, and because Pereira has delivered an uptick. He hadn't. I don't think he's got a win in the Premier League yet, but his performances in Europe were brilliant.
Been close.
And
Could have got something against Liverpool.
Should have beaten Liverpool, really. So he has like elicited some positivity there. And we just discussed the same as happened with Nuno. Spurs are the team in free fall. It could change tonight. Like at the moment, when you're asking me at the moment, I would say Spurs with Burnley and Wolves.
Would you really? Yeah.
You don't think?
No, I don't. It's one of them. If we come out,
Nuno relegates Forest.
No.
Part of me would like that for the kind of chaotic nature
I
of Forest
went
running football clubs. If at the start of the season, imagine that. And do you know what my prediction is? Nuno will be West Ham manager and he'll relegate Nottingham Forest at the end of the season. That's bonkers, isn't it? Anyway,
yeah, well, sometimes these mad scenarios come up. It's really hard to. I mean, like the bottom two are gone for me. They're just no chance.
Right.
It's too big a gap for them. But who's the other one? With West Ham having that, them wins of late, they've put himself with a bit of hope. I was like Martin. I totally thought West Ham had no chance of staying up. No. I didn't see anything. In games I was watching, going to the London Stadium, watching the end of last season.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this West Ham team are in serious trouble.
Yeah.
But they found something, and Nuno's got to take a lot of credit.
He's made the goalkeeper a goalkeeper again. I mean that's that
had a great save last night.
Oh, absolutely. But that is Graham Potter's signing. That is Graham Potter's guy. That was his top transfer priority. Was to get that goalkeeper in. And they got him in, and he chucked in 3 goals a game, and looked as if he couldn't catch a bag of cement.
Yeah.
And now you see him, and you think, right, they've really worked with him.
Yeah.
They've really worked with him.
Gregor, just finishing on a few refereeing decisions, some good, some bad in this game. Alex Iwobi probably quite lucky to get away with a handball that was quite a long way from his body. Martin's taken a big deep inhale of breath there. But I would say there's good intervention on the non-penalty that was given. Given and not
on
given.
The bleeding obvious? Yeah.
No, but I mean, it wouldn't be bleeding obvious. We've seen those. I thought we were going to have you and Gregor very upset on this one earlier today.
You've seen the replay, it is the bleeding obvious. In real time, it's not.
It is a grey area, one of those ones where you're sort of you intercept someone who's
about to shoot,
whose leg is on the downswing of a shot.
Yeah,
that is given as a foul. We've seen it given as a foul. It was given as a foul, the one outside the box. So it is a bit of a grey area, but I think it was right. I think it was right not to give a penalty.
Yeah, bit of controversy as well in Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. People getting fisticuffs after that game. I'm sure we'll talk about VAR again this season, but loads of football as well discussed on today's show. We'll leave it there. Tony Cascarino, Martin Samuel, and Gregor Robertson. Thank you very much for joining me as always. Thank you too for listening. We'll be back with the regular show on Monday. We'll see you then.